Special pop-up show. It is Tuesday night, 7:20 p.m. here in Massachusetts, and I'm broadcasting remotely tonight. So I'm on the road again tonight. I'm actually in Worcester, Massachusetts, in the parking lot of the Strike Zone baseball facility. That's where my boys play travel baseball. So I've got about an hour and a half to sit here in the parking lot, and I figured, you know what, this would be a good time to do a podcast. I haven't done one yet this week. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing great. Things are good. I've been very busy with work, so that's been keeping me really busy. Of course, I'm still kind of missing the time we spent in Florida. We had a beautiful trip to Florida a few weeks back, and spent time in Fort Myers. We spent time in Orlando. We spent time on the most beautiful beach I think I've ever been to, Siesta Key Beach, and then Clearwater. Hey, Eric, how you doing? Welcome to the show. So this is a special pop-up show of the John DeVito Show. It's Tuesday night, and it's about 7:20. Now, I am pretty excited about the news I saw earlier today. Now, it's not official yet, but I did see that I think it was the Senate, the United States Senate, passed a law that daylight savings time or standard time is going to be permanent from this point on. Now, of course, the House still has to pass this, and Dementia Joe Biden would have to sign this to make it legislation. But for those people that do not live in the Northeast, it is brutal up here in the Northeast in the wintertime, because come daylight savings time in, I think it's November, we change our clocks, maybe December, I can't remember exactly when it is, but we change our clocks back an hour, and it literally gets dark at like 4:20 in the afternoon. So it's horrible. Maverick, welcome to the show. So I hate it. It is like the worst thing ever. Literally, 4:20, 4:30 in the afternoon, it gets dark, and it just makes the night last forever. So the United States Senate, in one thing I can finally support, has passed this law now, and they've sent it on to the House, and then it has to go on to Dementia Joe. And if everyone approves this, then we will keep the daylight standards time, what we have right now, and we will not roll the clocks back come the fall. So for me, that's a good thing. I mean, I know that some of the parents are complaining that their kids will be going to school, early, and it'll be dark in the morning. I kind of figured it out. I think it'll be dark here until like 8:15 in the morning. But you know what? I'm okay with that. I can sleep later. How you doing, Mama Bear Tracy? Good to see you. And thank you for everybody coming in. I see I've got a few people in. Oh, I see Chris is here as well. And keep in mind, when I'm in my car, it's hard for me to look down at the phone, so I don't see everything going on. So I will do my best to do so. But so anyway, daylight savings time, I'm happy about that. And I'm going to start with some of the things I'm happy with tonight, and then we'll go into some of the other things that I'm not so happy with. So that's good news. Baseball, I haven't been on yet this week. I'm sure you all know that Major League Baseball has resolved their strike, and which is amazing to me. This is one of the things I think that's incredible. Is I've talked about Fenway Park here in Boston, and here, in order to get tickets for a Red Sox game, every game, for the most part, sells out, and you have to pay a lot of money to go to a Red Sox game. Like if you want decent seats, you're looking, probably at an absolute minimum of $100 per seat, if not $200 per seat, maybe even more for really good seats. So the seats at Fenway are expensive, and usually the big thing in Boston is opening day. So opening day at Fenway Park is sold out immediately when the tickets go on sale. You already have a big base of season ticket holders, and the ballpark sells out very quickly. So there was a report on the news tonight. We had the strike, and the season was delayed a couple of weeks. So we have like a new opening day that's sometime in the middle of April. I can't remember the exact date. But Fenway Park is not sold out for opening day right now, which you have to trust me when I tell you that's completely unheard of up here. So just kind of crazy stuff. So welcome to everybody that's here. Oh, Jeremy Cummings is here, my brother. Good to see you as well. And for those of you that are here, if you haven't done it already, please share my live. If you're new, please follow me. And as I've told a lot of you, my job has gotten very busy lately because, the COVID pandemic shutdowns have come to an end in the schools, and that's what I do for a living. So I've been traveling more for work, and I was really stressed for a while about, figuring out how I would do more podcasts for my friends out there, because I love all you guys. And I really would miss all of you if I didn't do the podcast. I haven't been into too many of other people's podcasts lately either. But I figure I'm going to start doing some more from the road. I'm going to pull out, the AirPods. And, of course, those of you that know me, I'm too cheap to actually buy real AirPods. I've got knockoff brands that I bought off of Amazon. And one of the reasons why I haven't done a podcast in the last week is the last podcast I did, and this pisses me off, but the last podcast I did, you may remember, for those people that were in the live, my earphones fell out of my head, out of my ears, and I was broadcasting apparently through my radio. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm old. I'm almost a boomer. So, technology still baffles me. But so, I was broadcasting. Both of them fell out, and I couldn't find one of them. So I literally was cleaning my car this afternoon when I got home from work, and I found the missing AirPods. So I'm doing a live show now since I found my AirPods, and I refuse to buy new ones. So I'm completely irresponsible when it comes to AirPods. So welcome to everybody coming in. I see Sammy Am is here. PKP. I see Scooter, half of Beans and Weenie, the funniest show on the face of the earth. I appreciate all of you guys coming in. Please share my show if you are new. Or if you're in, and if you're new, please follow me. So anyway, talked about daylight savings time. I'm excited that maybe we will not have to roll the clocks back this upcoming fall, because I hate that. It depresses me. I think it plays into my seasonal affective disorder and, all that stuff. And then, of course, Major League Baseball is back. So those are like the two things that are making me happy right now. And then I have so many other things that are not making me happy. But before I get into that, talking about when I lost my AirPods a week ago, that show that I did, that was literally one of the best shows I've done on remotely. I was on the Long Island Ferry. I was just on. Great show. Had a great live audience. I was ranting and raving, talking about things. People were looking at me on the ferry like I was crazy. And somehow, when I went to shut off that show at the end of the show, I somehow deleted the show, so I couldn't publish it. I was so angry. So literally for like 2 days afterwards, I was just like, fuck Podbean. I can't believe that happened. And so, yeah, Scooter, you were there, right? I freaking deleted the damn show by mistake, so I couldn't publish it. I'm so mad. That was such a good show, and I fucking deleted it. And that's what you get, though, when you have like a 54-year-old guy doing podcasts. I mean, for me, now you have to realize, you people in here, you young people that are here, you have no idea what I've had to overcome in my life, okay? Now, when I was a kid, there are some differing opinions on this, but when I was a kid, we had television. We had 3 channels, Channel 4, Channel 5, and Channel 7 in Boston. That was the ABC, NBC, and CBC affiliate. Then, if you wanted cartoons, you had to switch from VHF. It was a little button on your TV over to UHF, and you had a dial that was more like an old radio dial that you would have to twist and try to fine-tune the television to actually get those particular stations in. So I think on UHF, we had Channel 56, Channel 68, Channel 25, which is now Fox, and a few other stations like that. So that was the technology I grew up in. But we didn't have cable TV, so I had the damn rabbit ears. You'd have to move those things around, trying to get good reception on your TV, and you'd literally put like a little tinfoil ball on the top of the rabbit ears to get like better reception. But then now at night, we had a nicer television in the family room. I think we had 2 TVs. I had a little crappy black and white TV in my room, and then we had a nice, color TV. Now, if anyone's seen the color TVs from the 70s and 80s, we had those big wood consoles all around them. I mean, buying a TV back then was more complicated than it is today. First of all, like a 25-inch TV weighed like 1,000 pounds because it was encased in wood, like a table. So you had to pick a television that fit the decor of your house. So literally, you'd go and get this piece of furniture with a television in the middle of it. Now, right, the floor model, exactly. The things were so damn heavy and very expensive. So anyway, there was a lot of people that thought back in the day that we did not have remote controls for television. I mean, I remember, now everyone has a clicker for the TV. I love my clicker. The worst thing is one of my kids lose the clicker. I can't find it. I'm screaming at people. But with the remote control back in the day, it was simple. My father, after a long day's work, didn't want to have to get up and change the channel every 2 seconds. And fathers back then liked to channel surf as much as fathers or mothers do today. So back then, I would be told, John, go sit on the floor. Exactly. See, he knows. I see the comment in there. I was the clicker. I would literally I spent half of my childhood sitting on the floor in front of the television, and my father would go, change it, put on Channel 5, put on Channel 7, put on UHF. And if you didn't react quick enough, you get reprimanded, you get yelled at. And if you were asked to put on, like back in the day, TV 38 was a UHF channel. And that was one of the ones you'd have to spin the dial and try to fine-tune it in, or you'd have snow on the TV. And that's where the Red Sox played, and that's where the Bruins played. So I would have to get up there, and I would have to fine-tune that. And, my father would be yelling at me, everything else. And then, my father wondered why I would lock myself in my bedroom and not want to come out. Dad, no offense, I love you and I love Mom, but I don't want to sit on the goddamn floor all night changing the channels for you because you're too damn lazy to get up and do it yourself. So those are the things we dealt with back in the day. So, I've got these technology problems. But now keep in mind now, I didn't have my first computer until I was roughly 27 years old. I did not have a cell phone until well into my 20s. And, we didn't have iPhones. We had the flip phone. I actually had, if anyone's seen Saved by the Bell, I actually had the Zach Morris phone. That was like the first cell phone that was like a mobile phone. And before that, I actually had a bag phone. Who had bag phones? Anybody? Any other old bastards that even knows? Pager. I had a pager also. My wife had a pager up until a couple of years ago. I see Sammy Ann. I had a Bible phone. What's a Bible phone? But I did have a bag phone where you would walk around with like this little, it was like a lunchbox almost that had a phone in it. And I would walk around with that. And trust me, you thought you were the shit if you had a bag phone back in the day because no one had them, right? So anyway, man, that's why I'm challenged when it comes to technology. And you know what happens here? I do these podcasts from my car where I'm sitting right now, and I've got the AirPods in. So then, like I explained to you, my AirPods fall out. And then, I don't know why this happens, but I've got, a million songs on my phone. And all of a sudden, for no reason, a song will start playing, and I can't shut the damn thing off. So that's blasting in my AirPods, and I'm trying to talk and do the podcast at the same time. So I'm fumbling with my phone, trying to friggin' turn off the music. Oh my God, I've become my grandfather. I really have. It's embarrassing. So that's what I deal with. So if you hear me stumbling, that's why I am stumbling. So I see CMEM saying, I still have my mom's first cell phone. It was one of the brick phones like you're talking about. Those are probably worth some money now. I see Jeremy. John had to walk to school when he was a kid in 3 miles of snow. No, dude, I was lucky back in the day of school. Back in the day when I went to school, unlike my children, and there goes one of my friggin' earbuds. It fell out. Let me put it back in. Hold on 1 second. Oh, my God. I think I have, like, dysfunctional ears. They don't stay in. And there goes the music. I told you it was going to happen. Now, what's playing? I've got American Soldier playing. So a nice country song that I kind of like. So let me flip back. Here we go. So let's see. I have the little rubby, cushy things, and it doesn't help. So I don't know what the hell the problem is. But back in the day when I was in school, the bus came right to my driveway. So I actually got right on the bus at the end of my driveway. My kids have to walk like a good half a mile to get to the bus, which, is kind of good, except my high school son like whines and I have to drive him up to the bus stop all the time. So anyway, enough of the domestic stuff. Let's get into the stuff that, I usually talk about. So daylight savings, good thing. Let's hope I never have to roll the clocks back again. I may have to staple them in. That's not a bad idea. Major League Baseball is back. That's a good thing. I'm excited about that. Horse and buggy. Now, Jeremy, this is how friggin' old I am. Of course, I'm not old enough to be on a horse and buggy, but my grandmother was. My grandmother, Catherine Brennan, a good Irish girl. Catherine Brennan. Yes, I am part Irish. She was born in the early 1900s, and she was growing up at the beginning of automobiles. So she actually rode in legitimate horse and buggies. My father told me a story. Now, there's in the town he grew up in, Amesbury, Massachusetts, cute little town near the ocean in Massachusetts. There's like this rotary, a roundabout in downtown Amesbury. And he was telling me that his mother told him that when she was young, growing up in that town, that little roundabout was an area where they'd put the water buckets in there for the horses, believe it or not. So my father told me that story the other day. So I am pretty friggin' old. But anyway, let's talk about some of the things going on in the world. I want to ask you guys a question. For the people that are in here right now, should we be helping Ukraine? I posted something on Twitter a couple days ago, and I got hammered. Jeremy says no. That was the general consensus from a lot of people that we should not be helping. Chris Forgotten Tune, same thing. From my perspective, and let me just hear me out, and I get it. You don't want to send your kids over to fight. You don't want the American soldiers going over and having to die. I get it. And I also am researching a lot about the supposed biolabs that have been found all over Ukraine. Again, it's hard to know which propaganda is true, which propaganda is not. There are a lot of lies happening in the middle of the war. But the one thing I see is I do see one country absolutely annihilating another country. And the people of Ukraine, they're fighting valiantly. I mean, they're fighting. They're giving it everything they have. And I don't mind a battle. Not that I love war, but I don't mind a battle when you have soldiers fighting soldiers, you have people attacking military, installations and things like that. But when you see maternity wards getting attacked, when you see residential buildings getting attacked, when you see regular people get attacked, that bothers me. That upsets me. Maverick, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. And that's a good comment there. Equipment, sure. Soldiers, no. I agree with that. I would not want to see ground troops on the ground. And keep in mind, I'm no expert. I was never in the military. For the people that have been in the military, you are absolute badasses. You have no idea how much respect I have for all of you. I consider myself to be a pretty tough guy. I mean, I played football in college. I'm a big person. I never shied away from a fight, in my day. But I honestly don't know if I would have the courage to go into battle and put my life on the line. So for the people that do that, God bless you. I have the utmost respect for you. For the people that put their lives on the line so I can have freedom. I mean, you can't even put into words what that means. You can't even put a value on what that means. So for the people that are in here that maybe served in the military, please do not take any level of disrespect from my comments, because I have the utmost respect for all of you. But when I see the women and children, when I see the women in the maternity wards, when I see some of the things going on, it upsets me. I mean, it bothers me. You see this giant bully, this giant superpower who is destroying this country. And what worries me is if Putin is truly unhinged, and if Putin is intent on destroying Ukraine, which he is, for whatever reason it may be, will he stop at Ukraine? Or will he move on to Poland? Will he move on and start attacking other countries? And at some point, will he partner with China? Will this turn into something? I know that Biden, Dementia Joe, our good friend, the most irrelevant, most incompetent, most just pussy president we've ever had in our lives. I didn't have the right word, but that one I think seemed to fit so well. I mean, we have this administration that has basically allowed this to happen because our country is doing nothing right now but projecting absolute weakness. And we're allowing this to happen. And what concerns me is that as the United States is perceived to be weak, we are going to continue to see Russia and other countries continue to attack. You saw what happened with Iran. They shot rockets at us, right? Right now, people feel emboldened because we've got a president with dementia. We've got cackling Kamala Harris going to meetings in Poland and cackling when talking about people being killed in Ukraine. I mean, we are literally the joke of the world right now, and it bothers me. So I'm looking down at my phone now, looking at some of the comments. I'm sure I missed some, so I apologize if I did. Cummings, you're right. Biden is scared of Putin, is going to get a hold of the documents. You are correct, and the labs. And Putin is out of control. That's why they're destroying everything in the lab, said Sammy Am. Eric, Biden's son, along with Kerry's stepson, one of Romney's sons, and Pelosi's son, have interest in Ukraine. They're afraid of having their covers blown. It's true. I mean, it's everywhere. And it's one of those things where I've been very slow to get on and talk about this because, again, there always is propaganda in war. But it certainly seems like from the things I've read and the things that are out there right now, I mean, how many facilities are there? 80 supposedly in Ukraine, and they've been manufacturing bioweapons and doing the bat experiments. And I mean, we all knew it. We all knew that this whole COVID-19 thing, this whole coronavirus thing, we had the lab in Wuhan. You had Fauci there. You had Biden there. You had Obama there. Now to hear that there are that many labs in Ukraine, and that's in fact possibly what Putin is going after. Does that make Putin a hero? So answer that question for me. I did ask, should we be helping Ukraine? I am not against supplying the MiGs that people have been talking about. But do you think if Putin is attacking these biolabs and these labs have sinister intent, which I assume they do, is he a hero? Right? Is he a hero? That Jeremy comes and saying, no, Putin wants proof for blackmail. That could be what it is. And listen, if anybody wants to call in, I'm willing to have a discussion on this. I'm in my car. I'm parked. So here's Eric calling in. I've got Eric Kirk join the panel. Anybody else? Jeremy, and you guys want to call in? Call in. Doss, welcome to the show, brother. I'd love to hear from anybody that wants to talk about this because I haven't had enough time to read about what's actually happening in Ukraine when it comes to these biological facilities. So, Eric, what can you tell me about. So, oh, Mr. T, how you doing, brother? I didn't see you down there. So,
I
what can you
did.
tell me? Yeah, what can you tell me, Eric?
Well, I think in like the comments, like which of course we know Putin is, is clearly a war criminal, but I would probably say at the same time, Zelensky and the Ukrainian government is no saints either by any means because of
So now,
the alleged corruption going on in Ukraine, involving names like Biden, Romney, Kerry, and Pelosi.
see that's the thing. We knew all of these people were dirty, and that's why we've been talking
Hmm.
on this show about for how long we need to get these people
But you're
out. We need to
supposed to
have
give
term
them the
limits.
benefit of the doubt.
You are, but I think what's kind of amazing to me now. I was doing some work in my office this afternoon, and I was watching Fox News, and I saw they were showing clips from like CNN and CNBC. I don't watch those
Hmm.
shows because I can't last 5 minutes on those stations because they're obviously so corrupt. But it seems like the left is starting to wake up a little bit. It seems like the left is finally starting to understand what's going on. I mean, again, not everybody. You got the progressive left crazies like Presley in Boston and Liz Warren. It seems like half of them are from Massachusetts. But it does seem like that some of the moderate people on the left side are starting to see that we've been up against corruption. We've been starting to see, that COVID-19 may have been manufactured and all these type of things. So what are you seeing on your end, Eric? Do you think people are starting to wake up to some of the stuff that's going on?
I would certainly hope so because I know like the three names in the Democrat Party that seem to come to mind, and I know some of them may be fans of them, some of them may not. Like look at names like Tulsi Gabbard, Joe Manchin, and Kirsten Sinema. I mean, perhaps they've had like an epiphany, and that they don't like what they're seeing, that they're very alarmed by it.
I
But then
mean,
if
they
you
have
look
to be.
at the Republican Party, you've got rhinos in there that are being left unchecked.
I'll tell you, what's driving me crazy more than anything. I'm driving here, to go to baseball. My son's inside doing his baseball thing right now, so I'm in the parking lot, and I've got till like 9 o'clock before he comes out. But I'm driving through, and I'm looking at the price of gas. I mean, here in Massachusetts, I'm not sure what all of you are seeing in your parts of the country, but we're looking at 430, 440 for regular unleaded gas. Home heating oil has gone up to like $5.30 a gallon. And you've got everything going on in Ukraine. You've got everything going on with Russia, and of course Biden is blaming the war in Ukraine on all the prices going up. Of course, we all knew that was going to happen because what he actually is doing, of course, is the woke progressive left wants to continue to push the climate change narrative. They want to continue to push that so they can push electric vehicles and they can push solar power and they can push wind power. Now, I've done quite a bit of research on electric vehicles, and it's kind of funny that they continue to push like the Teslas and the different types of electric vehicles as being green. They're really not. They're a lot less green than even using gasoline. I mean, when you look at the nickel that needs to be mined in order to provide the power for a battery in an electric car, you have to literally mine, I think it was like 500,000 tons of dirt in order to get enough of the components to create a battery for one Tesla. And then if you look at, where does the electricity come from in the charging stations, that 40% of that comes from coal. So for them to try to come out and tell us that green energy is the solution, it's absolute garbage. And, for the younger people in here, you may not get this, but some of the things I've talked about, and this doesn't mean that someone my age is any smarter than anybody else that's younger. It's just I've been around longer and I've seen more of the bullshit. I mean, for me, when I was a kid, they talked about when I was in elementary school. I remember being afraid of the great next ice age. That's what the schools were teaching us.
Mm-hmm.
The next ice age is coming. It may not happen in our lifetime, but the glaciers are going to take over and we're going to be in another ice age before we know it. Then the next thing was acid rain. All the toxins we're putting into the sky is going to result in acid rain. It's going to literally come down. It's going to kill vegetation. You'll melt the paint off your cars. That was the next fear tactic I heard. Then I remember the hole in the ozone layer. I mean, what the fuck happened to the hole in the ozone layer? That was a huge thing. We had to stop using aerosol cans because we were destroying the ozone layer. But now we have global warming, or of course, I shouldn't say global warming. It was global warming. Now it's climate change. But Again, apparently the hole in the ozone layer repaired itself because all the emissions were thrown out are being held in now by the ozone layer, and that's resulting in the global warming, which is now called climate change. And that's the latest environmental tragedy that we all have to deal with. I mean, for me now, this is 40 years of bullshit that I've been hearing about the world coming to an end. I mean, if you think back when Al Gore did that ridiculous documentary, An Inconvenient Truth, I did watch that. The best part of that, I still love that, was Al Gore was lecturing us about our carbon footprints. He was lecturing us about the damage we were doing to the environment. And that asshole was flying around in his private jet during the documentary, lecturing us on driving SUVs. It's like, buddy, you're in a private jet, and you're going to lecture us about driving an SUV that doesn't have good gas mileage? At the same time, Gore had like a 10,000 square foot house and everything else. You look now. You've got, here in Boston, you've got the woke squad of Boston. Ayanna Pressley, Michelle Wu, Liz Warren, Ed Markey, all these liberal clowns. You got John Kerry, who's the climate czar for the country now. Has anyone taken a chance of Googling John Kerry? John Kerry has a private jet. He has a yacht. He's got a giant mansion on the water on Cape Cod. He's got like a 10,000 square foot brownstone in the city of Boston. But this guy is lecturing us on our carbon footprints. People need to wake up. But I mean, that's what the liberals are doing right now. The liberals are using the war in Ukraine to jack up prices, and they're using that to push this climate change agenda that they have going on. And kind of like what we're seeing now, is Putin attacking Ukraine because of the biological facilities that we apparently have all across the country that were sanctioned, of course, by Biden? I mean, with climate change, I'd love to see the investments that these Democrats have. Let's see Pelosi. Let's see Kerry. Let's see all these Democrats that are pushing. Let's see Biden. Let's see the money they have invested in these companies that are pushing electric power. And, you even got Elon Musk coming out and saying we need to produce more fuel, more oil and more gas. So it's just crazy. So I don't know, Eric. This stuff just kind of drives me crazy.
Well,
I mean, what do you think?
Well, I think I have like personal friends, that bought like a Tesla, but I don't know whether they might be having like any second thoughts about whether they made a great investment in buying that Tesla, or whether they want to just stick with their Jeep Grand Cherokee, or if they want to invest in like Honda or Toyota or another more reliable auto manufacturer.
Right. Well, we have, in my house, we have 4 kids, and we have, 2 dogs, cats. We actually have 4 cars. That's kind of embarrassing that we have so many cars. But we've got, my truck that I'm sitting in right now, I've got a 2017 Ford Expedition. It gets, I think, 16 or 17 miles to the gallon. But I mean, I can't drive around a smaller car. I got 4 teenagers, 2 dogs. We don't have room. I mean, with my wife and my 4 kids, we need a bigger vehicle. And up here also, we get so much snow, you need to have something that's got all-wheel drive, which we have, so I can drive through the snowstorms and things like that. So my wife's got a GMC Acadia, another smaller SUV, same thing as me, enough room for the 4 kids, the dogs, whatever. Hers probably gets a little bit better gas mileage than mine does, probably 18 to 20 gallons. My daughter has a Jeep Wrangler, and then I've got my little play car, the old 2004 Corvette convertible that probably gets the best gas mileage out of everything. But, when I look at Teslas, they're great cars. I've been in one. My buddy that I used to work with has a nice Tesla. I went for a ride in that thing. It is sweet. I would drive one in a second. If I had to race a Tesla in my Corvette, I'm positive the Tesla would beat the Corvette. They're extremely quick. Obviously no gas. So, I mean, you're saving money there. But the problem is, they don't last. The battery pack, if that dies, you're looking at $10,000 plus to replace one of those. I was on a site the other day learning about Teslas, and a very basic brake job is at least $1,000. Some of the brake jobs that happen in Teslas cost as much as $8,000 to repair the brakes. Now, you talk about the people out there right now that can't afford gas. And I'm sure, I grew up in a family where we didn't have a lot of money. My father made money, my mother didn't work, and we were, probably lower middle class, I guess. And, for my parents, higher gas prices would have made it difficult for them to make ends meet. I mean, they would have had to make decisions. Do we go on that trip this weekend, or do we buy food for the family? So I know that these higher gas prices is hurting the middle class of America. For my family, honestly, it's an inconvenience. It kind of pisses me off. Is it changing the way I live my life? Not really. But when you look at the people that are being hurt, that's where the pain is. So you've got these Democrats that come out and they say, they make arrogant comments like, well, if you don't like the gas prices, go out and buy a Tesla. So you're going to tell me the family that's making $40,000 a year or $50,000 a year, they can barely feed their family. They can barely, put food on the table, buy clothes for their kids. They're going to be able to go out and buy a $60,000 vehicle. I mean, that's just an arrogant comment. And a $60,000 vehicle, so you can save, $4 a gallon on gas. I mean, right there you go. It's crazy. That's my point, Chris. I mean, to me, it's just absolute arrogance, and it shows how out of touch these people are that are on the left side right now. They just don't get it. Now, listen, if there's anybody else that wants to call in, I don't know who's in here that would like to call, but if you want to call and express your feelings, we'd love to have you. And by the way, Eric, I got to tell you, I didn't get any response from our friend in Massachusetts, Donnie, who is going to be running for Congress against Ayanna Pressley. But he finally texted me out of the blue and gave me his cell phone number. So it looks like I will be able to set up an interview. What's his last name? Is it Palmer?
Palmer, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and another person who is also interested in coming on the show that I've chatted with is Neil Crabtree. And he's a Keystone. He's a Keystone XL pipeline welder who was laid off last year when Biden took office. He was previously featured on the Slightly Serious show, and I think him coming on to share his story and and to discuss like current events would be great for your show. What we would probably have him do.
Oh no, that's a great thing. I mean, the Keystone Pipeline. He seems like he'd be a very interesting interview. I would love to have him on to hear his perspective on that. But you look at Jen Psaki, you look at come up.
Your phone.
Okay, I get red. No, I would probably have that show. I would probably have that show on my computer. I would probably do that one from home.
Yeah,
with my microphone.
Well, you'd have probably call into the phone instead of through the Podbean app.
Yeah,
but exactly. I know you'll still ask them regardless, saying like you did Juanita Broderick, can you handle a live audience?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. She felt more comfortable. She's older too, so she felt more comfortable. I think just kind of doing it that way. Well,
she's told her story numerous times too.
She has. But no, I mean, regarding the Keystone Pipeline, I mean, I hate the arrogance of the Democratic Party where they get on and they talk about, well, Keystone wouldn't make a difference. The bottom line is if we finished it, and it's not just talking about just the Keystone Pipeline, but we need to be as a country more self-reliant, not just with oil, but in everything. We need to start manufacturing things again. We need to start producing things in our country again and not just import everything from other countries. And again, oil is one of the many problems we have in that aspect. So it would be great to hear about him and hear about his opinions on the Keystone Pipeline. But I am excited also about Donnie Palmer. For those of you who don't know who Donnie Palmer is, let me give you this really quickly, and then hopefully we're going to get him on soon. Donnie Palmer is a really interesting guy. He is a black gentleman from Boston. He looks like he's about 6'6". He's a boxer. He's a professional boxer. He just fought in Boston and won a couple of weeks ago. He's 37 or 38 years old. He was in the military. And at one point in his life, and I'm dying to hear this story, he was homeless. So he is now taking it upon himself to run against Ayanna Pressley and try to become the first elected black man in Congress from Massachusetts that the state's ever had. And he told a story on his Twitter page where he was saying that he literally came to tears a few weeks back. He was driving to pick up his nomination papers to run against Ayanna Pressley in Boston. And he drove by the area where I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, he was homeless, drove by that area where he was living in a tent. And it reminded him of how far he's come in his life. And the guy is inspirational. He is right now going after, our tyrannical mayor in Boston, Michelle Wu. He's going after Presley, and he is really starting to pick up some momentum in Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
The Republican that's running for governor in Massachusetts, Jeff Deal, who I like a lot, I think he would be very similar to a DeSantis up here in Massachusetts. Of course, getting him elected in Massachusetts might be tough, but he has already come out in support of Donnie Palmer running against Diana Presley. Now, in Massachusetts, we do have a Republican governor right now, and I do think we have a chance of electing another one. Massachusetts is an interesting state. The presidential electoral votes will always go to the Democrats. But in Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
the highly populated areas around Boston are very Democrat. But when you get out to the area where I live and further west, it's more of a Republican state. So when you look at the whole state voting for the governorship, I think that Deal would have a good chance of winning in the state of Massachusetts. But for me, it's going to be awesome. If we could get this guy, Donnie Palmer, elected and have him beat Presley, it would be great to have him in on the show. And I can't forget, I've got Racoon called in also, so I want to give him a chance to talk. But Eric, you were going to say something, so go ahead, and then we'll go to Racoon 6.
An idea for Palmer, and whoever this DeSantis-like gubernatorial candidate is, they probably need to take a page from Glenn Youngkin's playbook.
Yes. No, Jeff Deal ran last time around and he lost, and I really like him. So for those of you that don't know him, Massachusetts, Jeff Deal, he reminds me a lot of DeSantis, but the guy we're going to have on is Donnie Palmer. And find him on Twitter, give him a follow. It's Donnie, and the last name is Palmer. Good guy, and you'll really like it. He goes after people. He doesn't mess around. So if you enjoy that, follow him and you like it. So for everybody coming in, please share my live. Please follow me if you're new. And we're going to go to Racoon 6. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Hey, thanks for being patient. I know I talk forever, so thanks for waiting for me to stop talking.
I ain't worried about it. Hell, I get to talking. Sometimes they want to shut me up.
I'm the same way, brother. So how you feeling about things? What's your opinion on what's going on right now?
Okay, one thing that you said about the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline is a small percentage of what we have.
Right.
I mean, up here in the northern part of the state I'm in, and in northern North Dakota,
okay,
they have enough oil right now that they have already drilled into with multiple wells, and they're shut down because they can't pump it out. They've been told to shut the jack pumps down. And that doesn't include the rest of the areas around the United States. I look at Oklahoma, I look at damn Kansas, Texas. I mean, there is no oil shortage. I mean, I'm not even talking about the northern part of damn Alaska. That's got to be the largest oil reserve left in the world. They haven't even started really pump. I mean, they pump out of it. They got the Alaskan pipeline, but they don't have enough in there to really deplete all the oil they have, even though they're pushing the crap out of it down through there until they started shutting everything down. But it's all a ploy just to destroy America. They've already got us on our knees. Now we got to stand up and go against them, because the fact that
we do.
They've destroyed our economy to the point where our dollar isn't worth but 35 cents, I think. I mean, maybe it's a quarter. I don't know. But I remember.
I mean, what you're saying is right. I just want to get out.
I remember back when my dad had a gas station back in the 60s, and it was 25 cents a gallon. And when I started driving, it was 35 cents a gallon.
Yep.
Then when I went in the military in 77, it jumped up to 78 cents and people went ballistic. It's like, I wish I had those prices now.
I remember back, though, it wasn't so long ago where we were down near $1 also. I mean, even when Trump was in office, we were down below 2. And there were times in recent history where we were close to that dollar mark again. But I love one of the things you just said. I love what you just said.
Yeah.
Where we've been on our knees and we need to stand up. That is one of the points I wanted to get across tonight. You could not be more right in saying that, because it is time for America to start fighting back. It is time for us to remind these tyrants whose country this is. This is our country.
Well,
This is our country, and they're here to represent us, and they need to be reminded of that because they've forgotten, and they're acting like, kings, queens, dictators, and they are not. They're here to represent us, and it's time for us to remind them of that.
Thomas Jefferson said it real eloquently. The right of the people to throw out the tyrannical government. And these people have been tyrannical for a long, long time.
Right.
And, what would have happened if America just would have went out there and surrounded D.C., just stand around and block every daggone main road and every side road coming into D.C. and isolate the sucker and not move. Take 10 million people. That's just a fraction of who we have. They would have surrounded D.C. and they wouldn't have been able to do anything.
Well, I think those are some of the things, and I see a lot of people coming in. John Gale, Michael, welcome. The phone lines are open, so if you guys want to call in, please call in. We're having a good political discussion. I'd like to have all of you call in. Dr. DeVito, no, that's my wife, not me. I'm the dumb one in my marriage. My wife's the smart one, so I'm no doctor. I was lucky to graduate school. The only reason I graduated from college is because I could play football and knock people down. I mean, I drank and went to parties and played football. That was pretty much all I did in college. So no doctor here, but thank you.
I don't have a degree, but I did sleep at a Holiday Inn Express one time.
Oh, dude.
No,
see, now, when you said that, you brought up the terrible experience I had down in Florida. We stayed at a La Quinta hotel the night we got there. This place stunk of smoke. There were reviews of this place having bed bugs. I will never stay at a La Quinta again. And then those bastards still charged my credit card. We left the hotel. We couldn't even stay there. It was so nasty. But anyway, that kind of made me go in that direction. But I want to ask you a little bit more about the oil because you seem like you really know what you're talking about. So when it comes to the oil, we hear Keystone Pipeline, but you're talking about the reserves we have in other places. We're just not being allowed to turn it on. So right now, if I was the president of the United States and I said, okay, we need to be self-sufficient. We need to start delivering our own oil and our own gas to our country. I am giving the okay for all of our refineries, all of our locations in the United States to ramp up service, get up to as close to 100% as you can. Number one, how long would it take and how much of an effect would that have on the market in, say, like a month if we were able to do that?
Actually, I live 58 miles actually from 3 refineries, and I'm paying $1. I think the other day it was $4.48 a gallon. Of course, we have a high highway tax because there ain't nobody here.
Right,
no more cows than we got. We have more cows than we got people. But if you turned on the daggone pumps right now and started production, it would probably take a month, but the stipulation would have to be lower the prices back down to this guideline, bring it back down under $3, closer to $2, or even below $2, because there would be so much output that these guys wouldn't be able to handle the load of having to keep it because people can't afford it. It's just like everything else. I mean, they dump thousands and thousands of tons of wheat because there's nowhere to store it and there's no buyers for it. I mean, look at you can Google the pictures of the wheat silos along the railroad tracks where they actually have to dump it. And it's just big piles of wheat. And they've got 20, 30 silos filled to the maximum. And the damn oil or the rail company won't bring enough cars to haul it off. It says it's not economical. It's not feasible. There's no buyers. If you ramp up the damn production back to where it was to feed the world, we wouldn't have any of these damn problems. I mean, look at the fact that we dump more grain, or farmers are told they can't plant because of farm bills. They say, oh, you can't plant. We're going to pay you X amount of dollars not to plant. Okay? If they went out there and planted, these guys would be running 24-hour a day. They go on operations trying to get everything in the ground on the property they have. I mean, some of my wheat farmer friends here and corn farmer and barley farmers here in my valley, they have to hold the production down. So we can only plant so much, and then it's up to the buyers to tell us if we can harvest it or not.
Right. It's crazy. All the regulation and things that are happening. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to address a couple of things. Hold on one second. I got to address a couple of things in the chat here. I see. I'm scrolling back a little bit, and I don't know what's going on in here, but I see John Gale talking about Motel 6. We'll leave the light on for you. Now, I'm afraid of those places. But Spanky with Beans and Weenie says, depends on the hooker where I stay. Now, that makes sense. Now, if you're going to see a hooker, Motel 6, if that helps keep the price down, I could get behind that. Of course, again, you don't want to come home with anything. Let's see. This is the other thing I wanted to address. I see Mr. T, be right back. John Gale talking about the oil. If we knew it was coming, the prices would drop. That's a good point. But now this is what I wanted to get to. Now, Mama Bear, I see, when she saw Spanky with Beans and Weenie, she said, "Hey, cutie," with a little blush face. Now, when she said hello to John Gale, it was hello, sir. So I'm noticing a little difference in the welcome from Mama Bear to Spanky and John Gale. So now why does one person get a hey cutie and why does John Gale get a very professional hello, sir? So I'm not sure exactly what's going on about that, but I see John Gale saying, Tracy, hello, Mama, we've missed you. So I don't know if I'm picking up on something there. Is there like a little maybe love connection between Mama Bear and Spanky? Of course, with a name like Spanky, how could you not be interested? But let's see, I see Spanky saying, I'm fat and I have one leg. It's sympathy. Dude, I'll tell you, though, you never know. I mean, you would think that maybe that might not be on someone's top list of things to look for, but I bet you there are some women out there that would love a fat man with one leg. You never know. I mean, there are women that are taking foot pictures and making hundreds of thousands of dollars selling their feet pictures. I'll tell you, if I was a woman, my feet are ugly, they're hairy, but if I was a woman and I could take pictures of my feet and sell those to some perverts to do whatever the hell they want to do with my feet pictures, I would be a fucking multimillionaire. I would be the Elon Musk of foot pictures if I could do that. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here. You know me with my ADD. But I don't know. So you're going to get a fan page.
Anyway,
I like that. Go ahead.
One of the things, though, that you have to look at is they say, well, now all the utilities have skyrocketed. Like,
yes,
I had my first electric bill this year went up double, went from $150 to $300.
That's a big increase. That's a lot more money.
Yeah,
that hurts a lot of people.
Here's the weird part. I live 2.5 miles away from a freaking power plant that sends their power out of state because our state representatives back in a few years ago, about 30 years ago, decided it would be okay if we bought our power from outside the state. So we have Northwest Power pumping power in here, and our power comes from Dagon, Washington. I thought they had enough problems with Washington not having enough power, but they're sending power to us. Our power plant sends it to Canada. Sends it to British Columbia.
John, I see your comment down in the chat. Who can afford this anymore? I think that's a huge problem. And that's the thing now. The Democrats, right? The Democrats, aren't they supposed to be the party of the people, right? The Republicans are supposed to be the rich corporate executives who are making, $800 million a year. And the Democrats always position themselves as being the party that represents the people. And we've talked about this on my show before. My impression, I'm not going to get into the long dissertation that I usually give you, but what have the Democrats given the people? In my view, and I mean this, I'm not trying to be one-sided. This is how I see it. What have the Democrats given the people? You look at any major inner city in this country, the Democrats have given people of color, black people, Hispanic people, poor white people, they've given them welfare. They've given them Section 8. They've given them food stamps. They've given them liquor stores in every corner. They have given them all the tools they need to be dependent people in society. They've done nothing to give these people jobs. They've done nothing to give these people a good education. They've done nothing to help these people of color and poor white people into having a better life. They've done nothing but kept them under their thumb, said, you vote our way, and if you do that, we'll continue to throw the crumbs your way so you can stay home and watch, Judge Judy and whatever the hell else it is during the day. And that's what happens.
Yeah.
So the Democrats talk about how they care. They don't care. They care about control. We've seen it with the mask mandates. We've seen it with COVID-19. They want us controlled. And that is what they are about. And it's sad. And it's awful, Go ahead.
The thing about the Democratic Party is, and a lot of the rhinos and a few other Republicans,
the rhinos too,
be starch, they spend a year and a half out on the campaign trail making promises, and they spend 2 years after they get elected figuring out how to get out of the promises. Then they spend 2 more years trying to get reelected and keep their job. The thing of it is, see, people don't realize these people get government money to run. They should be running out of their own pocket, because if I have
Isn't that crazy?
If I have to spend $85 for a new shirt and pants and shoes to go get a good paying job, why can't I get that on a deduction of 100%? Yep. Some of these people never wear the same suit, never wear the same tie every day. They don't have to, because they're so deep into money laundering that their lives are set. It's like I'm a life member of the NRA. Okay,
I am as well.
I'm like, and when I heard what idiot was doing with the funds, spending $1 million freaking on expenses.
Yep.
Never wears the same suit. Always has a brand new car and a fantastic aborted damn mansion somewhere. And he tells me he's going to help me. I mean, it runs all over the place.
I got to read you guys a story really quickly. You guys, this is important. So you guys listen to this. Now, we'll go back to you in a second. So both of you guys hold on for a second. Now, I was talking earlier about Ayanna Pressley, biggest racist we have in politics out of Boston. And she's one of, she was one of the people back in 2020, burn all the cities down. We've got Liz Warren, Pocahontas, who lied about being Native American to get a professor's job at Harvard, where she gets paid $400,000 a year to teach one class, and then she lectures America on student loan debt and how we should forgive student loans. Well, you know what, Liz? Maybe if you didn't make $400,000 a year to teach one class after lying about being Native American so you could get this job, maybe students wouldn't be in as much debt. We've got the new tyrant, Michelle Wu, the mayor of Boston, who's the new woke crowd in Boston. Now, did you see what happened today in Boston? Google this story if you haven't seen it. There is a woman in Boston today, and my friend Turtle Boy broke this story. He's a blogger from Massachusetts, lives in the next town over from me. He's pretty well known. Violence in Boston founder Monica Cannon Grant and her husband were indicted on money laundering. So this woman won the Boston Woman of the Year in 2020. She was celebrated by the Boston Celtics. She was celebrated by all the liberal woke politicians in Massachusetts. There are pictures of her on the internet with her Black Lives Matter earrings on and everything else. Well, apparently she was taking all types of donations into this Violence in Boston charitable fund, and she was spending the money with her husband. So let me read this to you really quickly. This is what we're talking about when we look at these new woke Democrats. They're racist, and they are all, hopefully you guys can all hear me. I just lost my earpiece again. Let me go back to my main screen. Give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me. Thumbs up, thumbs up. All right, cool. I'm going back. I'm going to read this story, and I'm just going to have to do the rest of the broadcast without my earpieces, so I'm not going to be able to hear my callers, unfortunately, until I find them. So let me go back to this story really quickly. All right, here we go. Violence in Boston founder Monica Cannon Grant and husband indicted on federal fraud charges. All right, so this is from Boston, CBS television. A federal grand jury has indicted Monica Cannon Grant and her husband Clark Grant, the founders of Violence in Boston, on more than a dozen charges for allegedly using the nonprofit for their own benefit. The U.S. Attorney's Office for Massachusetts announced on Tuesday that Cannon Grant, 41, and Grant, both Taunton residents, that's right near Foxborough where the Patriots play, are facing charges as part of an 18-count indictment. The grand jury found the couple allegedly led a series of schemes designed to defraud Violence in Boston donors, the Massachusetts Department of Unemployment Assistance, and a mortgage lending business based in Chicago. Big surprise, Chicago. Federal prosecutors allege the couple intended to use charitable donations for their personal benefit. Charges include 13 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of making false statements to a mortgage lending business. In addition, Cannon Grant faces 1 count of mail fraud. Grant was charged in October with 1 count of wire fraud also. So apparently, they've collected over $100,000, and they were spending this on getting their nails done, on going on vacations, on lavish dinners, and things like that. So it's just insane. But this woman is got pictures all over the internet with her, with Ayanna Pressley, with Michelle Wu, with Ed Markey, with all these prominent woke Democratic liberals that we have here in Massachusetts. And that's what we're seeing across the country. We no longer have a Democratic Party like John Kennedy had. Don't ask for what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. We've got these woke progressives who are racist, they're criminals, and they're thieves, and they are hijacking our inner cities, they are hijacking our government, and they are hijacking our country. And until the American people, like Racoon said a little bit earlier, we need to get off our knees and we need to stand up. It's not that any of us are racist. I'm not a racist. I love any type of person, regardless of their skin color, their gender, their sexuality. I don't care. If you're a good person, you're a good person. But if you're a criminal, whether you're a white criminal, Hispanic criminal, Asian criminal, black criminal, whatever, you're a criminal. And if you're a woke liberal politician who is intent on calling everybody racist when you don't get your way, but then you're caught when you're with Violence in Boston and when you're with Black Lives Matter and you're embezzling money and you're stealing from these people who think that they're doing a good thing, there's something wrong with that. So listen, Eric and Racoon, Eric, if you could take over for a minute, I'm going to open my car door. I can't hear you. I'm going to find my headphones. So Eric, take the lead for about a minute while I find my headphones, and I'll be back for a second, okay? So I will be back. Eric, take the lead. Racoon, feel free to talk. I'll be back in a minute when I find the headphones.
Hang on, Michael. We're trying to get him to invite you on the call. Post something in chat, Michael, so John can click your icon and give you an invite.
Okay, I found one. There we go. I got one back, so I'm back. I found my right headphone, so I don't need both. So does somebody want to call in? Is that what it is, Eric?
It's Michael Key. If you don't touch the green icon in time,
I got him.
What you could do, like when you invite people on call, you could click their icons in chat, and you should see an option to invite them on the call.
Can y'all hear me?
Okay, got it. I can hear you loud and clear, brother. How you doing? How are you, Michael?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I see your show's been doing very well. Congratulations on your success.
Yeah, thank you. No, I thought you were done.
I thought about it. I came close. As I was saying, I said in the very beginning of the show, my job has gotten very busy again with COVID and all the shutdowns. I was home working remotely a lot. So I've been traveling more. So I decided just to continue, not to marry myself to the 11:20 in the morning time, because I just can't do that. So when I have time, I'm getting on and doing kind of like random time podcasts. I did a couple last week when I was traveling on the Long Island Ferry for work. And tonight my son's got baseball from 7:30 to 9. So I'm too far away from home to drive back and forth. So I'm just sitting in the parking lot, figured I had some time, do I do a podcast? So here I am. So yeah, I'm not going to be on in any regular times. I try to avoid any other podcast that I know they're on, because I don't like double booking with any people that do the same thing I do. So I try to avoid coming on at times, but that's why I'm here. So I'm not quite done yet. I'm going to continue on for a bit. And, I do feel right now that the world needs people like me, needs people like you, needs people like John Gale, like Slightly Serious, that are getting out and telling the truth. Even though we're on a small scale, I think it's very important for all of us to continue talking. I appreciate that, Spanky. Thank you. So I'd like to hear some of your views, Michael. You're a very bright guy. What are your feelings on, I guess, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine? What do you feel is happening here in America with the gas prices? Hey, Q Bella, good to see you. I'd like to hear some of your opinions. So go ahead, let it rip.
So, I've been well outspoken as far as the conflict in Ukraine. The best for the Ukrainian people. I think it's awesome how they stood up to fight for their country, and I hope they win it. But leading into the invasion, this could have been avoided. And when you go back and you look at history, this was the United States' fault that this happened for the most part.
Okay.
Policy that we either ignored or that we implemented, certain actions that we took or didn't take, for that matter, got us exactly where we are today. And there's a lot of different theories on why Putin ended up going in, invading Ukraine.
Now let me ask you. Let me stop you there. Just interrupt for a second. Now, do you believe in the 80 facilities that he is talking about that are creating, like, biological weapons, different things? Do you believe that was a partnership between Biden and Obama and Ukraine?
100%. I talked about this last time on my show.
Let me hear it.
At first, I didn't believe it.
Okay, because that's where I am now. I'm kind of iffy. That's why I need you to convince me. That's kind of why I'm asking.
So when I was at the office, I just finished typing an article that kind of relates to my show that I did yesterday. And I have all of the evidence and government documentation going back to legislation back in 1991, the Freedom Support Act of 1992, that kind of kicked this whole thing off. Then you have the weapons proliferation agreement between Ukraine and the United States that was brokered by then Senator Barack Obama and Richard Lugar. And that kind of, what that was, that set up a cooperative operation between the United States and Ukraine in these labs that were, originally built by the Soviet Union, but no longer belonged to the Soviet Union. They belonged to Ukraine. You understand? What's the word proliferation? Because that's the word they always use.
Right.
They say, weapons non-proliferation or proliferation. All proliferation means is the rapid growth of something. And then if you go biologically, it's the rapid reproduction of cells or organisms. But it just means that it's growing at a rate, when the Cold War kicked off and they started building nuclear weapons and just thousands and thousands and thousands of weapons, and it got out of hand, they went back and cut back on them. All they did under that agreement is the United States gave Ukraine $15 million and said, look, everything that goes on here, we want a part of. We want to know all the information that you receive based off of your research. You can't just go run wild with this stuff. And, we're now a partner. The year after, another bill was introduced in the Senate called the Nunn-Lugar Cooperative Threat Reduction Act of 2007. That repealed all of the restrictions that these former Soviet states had to abide by to receive funds from the United States to help their economy. And some of those restrictions before were that they couldn't take part in these nuclear and biological programs. That repealed that. It also allowed the Department of Defense to start giving out massive contracts to private businesses and or formerly known as non-government organizations, NGOs, to go and do business. Now, in 1992, the basis of the Freedom Support Act was the United States looked at it and said, wow, we have this market, these Soviet states that have never, ever experienced a free market society and capitalism in their history. They don't even know what it is. And overnight, they're converting from communism to a free market system. So we'll provide help to them, but they have to abide by our rules. And part of those rules is they have to allow is in their countries. So the idea was we're going to, promote U.S. business interests in former Soviet states. It's a new upcoming market that no one has ever taken part in. So the potential is just unreal. And who knows about it first is the politicians. So that's where you get the Bidens and John Kerry and all them going and actually having business dealings in these labs and in Burisma and all that stuff. All of that was kicked off in that bill.
Well, let me ask you this now. So if all of this is true, which I'm starting to believe the more I hear about it, and it kind of gets me that Fox News hasn't really reported on this at all. And, I've been busy with work, just watching.
They're probably being told to be quiet.
Yeah, they probably are. But let me ask you this now. I asked this question earlier. No one really answered it. Do you feel that if everything is true, which it seems like it may be, is Putin a hero?
No, I don't think it goes that far, because for him to be a hero, like, I think Putin has his reasons outside of the labs that he invaded, and some of them are pretty legit reasons in the name of national security for Russia. But I don't think that if this lab theory is real, that it makes him a hero, because for him to go that far, there has to be a legitimate threat. The only thing I've seen that posed a threat was I found a government contract from July 28th, 2021, so last year, which was just after Putin started mobilizing soldiers. Our government, or the Department of Defense, was going to pay $3.5 million for someone to go over and basically secure and finish the certification of these two new labs in Ukraine. These two new labs were licensed to work with the highest or the most dangerous type of pathogens. They state in the contract that they feel there's a substantial risk that the Ukrainian government could start operating these labs before they received any kind of approval or oversight from anyone else. So obviously the Russians see that stuff, and that could be their basis on saying, well, the Ukrainians don't like us, we're having issues, and now they're trying to start operating, and researching biological weapons without the supervision of the United States like they're supposed to. That's the only thing I've seen, but were they really going to go and use those weapons? I don't think so, no.
Well, I'll tell you, I think, as I said earlier, I'd like to hear your opinion on this also. Excuse me, I think I'm getting a cold. But one of the things that's really bothering me is the United States right now is just exhibiting, absolute weakness, in my opinion. And Joe Biden, I think, with his existence in this country, he has absolutely shown that the United States is no longer a country that needs to be respected and or feared. And I think if Donald Trump was president, we would not see any of these things happening right now. If you look also, you had Biden, who was making phone calls, looking to get some oil from the Middle East, and he's got people not taking his phone calls. Could you imagine a world leader not taking a phone call from Trump? Trump was able to go to North Korea, for crying out loud, and get a meeting with that maniac over there. Yeah. It just shows that Biden has garnered no respect across this world. Everybody knows the United States of America is broken right now. We're hobbling. We may be in worse shape than Scooter is, missing his one leg. I'm not sure if we're that bad. I don't. Spanky, not Scooter. Spanky's missing his leg, so we may be as bad off as Spanky right now. But that's it's just, I don't know.
Spanky's not the only one who had to have a leg amputation.
Oh, who else did?
In case anybody may have missed it, Too Much Saucy was forced to have her leg amputated
I didn't know that
as well.
Did she really? Saucy's been on my show before. Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Wow. Now, why did she have to have a leg amputated?
But we're not making fun of
her. Oh, no, not at all. That's horrible. Why did she have to have a leg amputated? What happened?
I think she had like a metal rod in her leg. I don't know if it was from like an injury she may have had years ago or a surgery. I don't know all the details, but but I think she may have like gotten like a staph infection or a gangrene infection that forced her to go ahead and have that leg amputated.
No, I mean, the only reason I joke with Spanky is because he jokes about it himself. But no, that's a traumatic thing to have happen. And believe it or not, my wife has actually had to do that before from the other end, where she's actually had to amputate a leg before. She told me that was one of the most horrible things that she's ever had to do. And she did that as being a doctor, which is just awful. But prayers go out to Saucy. That's terrible. She's been on the show here. Very good person. And I'm sorry to hear that. So I'd have to, if I see her, I'll have to pass along. Now, has she been on her show? Probably not, right? Since this has happened.
I don't think I've been seeing too much of her in the past few days. I really hope all is well with her. She's on Instagram and Facebook. I would have to tell you her given name off the record so you can look her up.
I think I might even be following her. I don't know. I'll have to look. I haven't been on social media a whole lot. I've been spending more time on Twitter and actually Truth Social. Now, how many people here, just to kind of switch to that, I see you've got Michael still here. How many of you guys have gotten into Truth Social?
Call back in, Racoon.
And if you have gotten into Truth Social, do you like it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll develop. It's pretty simple. It's kind of like Twitter, but it'll develop over time.
I do like it. I'm on Truth Social, and I'm
waiting for an Android app to become available.
Yeah, I think I've got like 4,000 followers already. I followed a bunch of people, but I think I have 4,000 followers. And the one thing I didn't like, though, is I've already been censored a couple of times there. I didn't expect that. One time I just swore once. I think I called someone an asshole, and they blocked my post. and then there was another thing. I mean, obviously I shouldn't be calling people an asshole, but that's me. And then there was another thing where I actually just posted the price of gas that I pumped that day. I think it was like $87, and I made a comment about Joe Biden. That also got censored. So my impression was, Truth Social, we would not be getting any type of censorship. I mean, obviously, if you're getting on and you're being a racist or whatever, I mean, I could see there would be certain instances where you would have to have your post removed. But I was very surprised and a little disappointed that that happened. So, but all in all, I do like it. And you're right, Michael. I think you're right. It's very similar to Twitter, where it's kind of a very similar platform. But it's all Republicans. There are very few left-wing people. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, something that a lot of people don't realize about what Trump did. He spent a long time running around the world there that first and second year. He was the only one outside of the presidents, all the presidents in our history, to walk across the North Korean DMZ line to meet with that idiot.
Yeah.
Okay. He was also the only president to ever go into the Forbidden City. And he's the only president who was ever given the Saudi sword dance, which is only for the people who run that place. And he's the only one who's ever led the Queen of England on reviewing the troops. Now we have an idiot that can't change his own diaper and never knows what he's saying because he can't read the monitor correctly. But still, the whole thing of it is everybody's sitting back on their butt thinking, well, it'll be okay in a couple years. We may not have a couple years.
Honestly, in my opinion, now, they're making it.
We may only have 90 days before they tuck this country under.
They are making their big move right now.
People in power.
This is the big move. They are making their big move right now. This is their power move.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do it.
They've been throwing Hail Mary passes for 90 days now. And just think what's going to happen in the media world when all this in Ukraine is settled down and China goes after Taiwan and opens up that place for all the labs they've got there that we run. I mean, the United States is not, our government is dirty to the maximum. And there's no way to get around it. It's dirty to the max. Everybody in Congress is held liable for it. Everybody in the Senate is liable.
I got something for you. I got two things, but kind of with the same topic. So going back to what I said about those biolabs, right? There's significant evidence per a Senate report that was put out and per financial transactions that Hunter Biden directly funded through Rosemont Seneca, the private entities that are operating and doing research in the biolabs, which is Metabiota and CH2M, and then there's another company as well. He literally, Rosemont Seneca directly funded those companies for that purpose. Here's the other thing. Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma, right? What's Burisma? It's the I think the largest natural gas company or energy company in Ukraine. They also have a subsidiary that does oil and gas out of Ukraine as well. The Nord Stream 2 pipeline was the first thing Biden hit with sanctions once Russia invaded Ukraine. And he kept threatening that. Now, Trump brought up the problem with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, but for different purposes. Because Trump wanted to pump more gas here, and he wanted Europe to buy more gas from us and make us more not just energy dependent, more of a net exporter, and just bring more money to the U.S. Biden shut down production here, right? And didn't really, he was on board with the Nord Stream 2, but the Nord Stream 2 actually reroutes gas and bypasses Ukraine, because right now Russia has to send 80% of their gas that they export to Europe through Ukraine, and they pay Ukraine a transit fee.
John, that's why I just muted Racoon. I didn't know what that was, so I just muted. I muted you, Racoon. There was some background noise, so you can unmute when it's time to talk.
Yeah, I just spray my nose down. It's summertime or springtime here.
You see, John Gale, he said, "Who's snorting coke?" That's what I thought.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Michael. Sorry.
No, I had to.
But no, the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, when it did become functional eventually, was going to reroute gas from Russia directly to Germany and other European countries. Right, 80% of their oil and gas through Ukraine, and they pay them a substantial transit fee. That Nord Stream 2 pipeline interferes with the business that Burisma and other oil companies in Ukraine do. So it's just a coincidence that with all of Hunter Biden's dealings in that industry in Ukraine, that this pops off, and the first thing they do is sanction the Nord Stream 2 pipeline and the future of the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. It just makes you wonder.
Hey guys,
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a question for
Sure.
you. What's the most sought after material in the world?
Material? Well,
Yeah,
it depends.
I'm saying, but by material, let me specify.
Uranium?
What is the
Nickel?
Uranium's not really that much. No, oil.
Oil, yeah.
Oil.
Okay.
The world runs on oil because everything we have is made from.
Mm-hmm. That's why it's all a joke with this whole Green
Oh, it's
Deal.
ridiculous.
Like, come on, we have a Green Deal, and then we're just gonna get it. We're not using any less oil.
No.
It's not like we're cutting back on oil.
Well, we talked earlier about the electric cars. I mean, it's such crap where you need the nickel in order to mine nickel is traumatic to the planet.
Did you know?
And then when
Hey, John.
and then you use coal to actually get the energy at the charging stations. Go ahead.
Did you know that they had electric cars back in Einstein's day?
Way back.
And they were using Einstein liquid batteries, and they were running 100 miles or running over 1,000 miles on one charge.
That's one of the things.
But they said, well, we can't do that anymore because the up and coming thing now is petroleum. And that's where Rockefeller jumped on board, started buying up all the companies and stuff, and became the oil mogul of the United States.
Oh, that is true. I remember reading about
But
that.
they had electric
where
cars.
we could have gone electric from the very beginning.
Exactly. And there wouldn't have been any of this bullshit about climate change.
Well,
Climate changes every year.
Like I talked about, like I talked about
year.
earlier in the show. I'm not sure if you were in then, but again, I'm 54 years old, and Michael, you're a younger guy. But for me, when I look at climate change, it's just the next shiny new bullshit thing they're throwing at us. I heard about the next ice age. I heard about acid rain. I heard about the hole in the ozone layer.
Yep.
I heard about global warming. Then it became climate change. For me, since I was 6 years old, it's been one scare tactic after another. And after climate change, there'll be another. They're always looking to put fear in our hearts and scare us so they can steal our money. And that's what this is. Climate change is just another big money grab. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's garbage.
John?
It's garbage. Go ahead.
John, you forgot about the mid-'70s when they said we were going to have an ice age.
I said that at the start. That was the first thing. I remember when I was in school, I was probably, 6, 7 years old. I would go home at night and talk to my parents. I was afraid because my teachers would tell me, we are heading into the next ice age. The glaciers are going to be coming back. They would tell us about how all the animals were dead. And I remember being afraid. I was afraid of it. I mean, this was a real thing that they were teaching us as young children in school. Yeah. And when you sit back now and think about it, you laugh about it. But when I was a young kid, it was terrifying. And then I was terrified of the next nuclear war between the Soviet Union and the U.S. I was terrified of acid rain. They literally said that the rain that coming out of the sky would be affected by the chemicals that were polluting into the sky, and the raindrops would be acid. So if they fell on your body, they would burn you. If they hit your car, they would burn the paint. And that's what they were telling the children back then. Guess what? The ice age didn't happen. Friggin' acid rain didn't happen. The hole in the ozone layer, I guess it repaired itself because we don't hear about that anymore. Global warming, that narrative didn't fit. So then they had to change it to climate change. The climate always changes. It's always going to change. Of course it's going to change.
Yeah.
You can't prove that one wrong.
The thing is,
go ahead.
The thing that people don't realize through all the propaganda we've been fed as little kids, and I go all the way back to the 1960 when I started school. We used to have to climb under our desks and stuff because we had nuclear drills.
Right.
Okay, that never happened. But one of the craziest things is people don't realize that they always talk about crap that man cannot change or control.
Exactly.
The CO2 level has not risen in the last 125 years that they've been studying it.
I remember
has not risen.
I watched a documentary
because we have enough plants.
I watched a documentary on volcanic eruptions. And yes, that's what I do in my spare time because I'm a boring person and that's what I do. But I watched a whole documentary on volcanic eruptions. One volcanic eruption has done more damage to the environment than anything in the history of man living on this planet. The chemicals that a volcanic eruption blows into the atmosphere does more than any car, any airplane, any combination of anything men and women and people have done in the history of living on this planet. So again, you can sit back and say, well, we're going to move to paper straws. Those paper straws are going to save the earth. Again, wear 10 billion masks and throw those in the ocean. That's okay. It's such garbage and people fall for it. But the problem is, we've got, a pretty smart group of people in this podcast. The people that come in to listen are intelligent people. They're educated people. They're people that understand that the government is pulling the wool over your eyes. I mean, everyone except for Frankie D is smart. Frankie, we know Jersey Shore. We got to get what you got going on there. But Frankie D, very smart man also. And for those of you that haven't been into his show, I'm sure you all have. Make sure you check out Frankie D's show. But it's all bullshit.
And one thing about
most of the population doesn't get it. Go ahead.
And on the subject of the paper straws, I think I've been to a restaurant that has those instead of plastic straws, and drinking out those paper straws taste like shit.
No, they taste like shit, and they get soggy after 5 minutes. It's almost like It's almost like a 54-year-old man trying to get an erection. It doesn't stay hard for long. It gets soggy after
right.
a while.
Come on now.
Hey, that's all right. I've never taken a little blue pill, but my wife likes the little blue pills. It makes it a little bit better. So Doss is back. My brother from Vermont.
John,
yes, go ahead.
Something else. I was
Sammy.
Basically,
I'll
I am basically an amateur.
Yeah.
I'm basically an amateur geologist, and I pay attention
Interesting.
to a lot of the. Oh yeah, I do a lot of prospecting here in my treasure state.
See, I'm a science guy, so that's very interesting to me. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, did you know there's 25 mega calderas in the United States?
What are they called? Mega calderas?
Yeah, these are giant suckers. They're bigger than Yellowstone.
Wow. Because I know, again, if Yellowstone blows, we're all dead.
Well, if any of them blow, we're all dead, because some of these here have cities around them. And they draw their power from them by taking steam and converting it to electricity. And these places all over California and Southern California, that's where the majority of them are. They're all sitting there drawing steam off of them, and they wonder why they get earthquakes and stuff, because they're releasing the pressure. But see, people don't understand that when you take so much away from something, there's always an equal reaction to it. It may take longer, but when it happens, and there ain't nothing anybody can do about it. A lot of these cities that are around these calderas, they have 4 and 5 I can't think of the name of it now. They have the class 4 and 5 earthquakes all the time. It's normal for them.
That's crazy.
They say, oh, we're having another earthquake.
Huh.
You know, they don't hang pictures on the wall. They nail them to the wall.
Fuck.
You know. And you have them all down. You have them all down the Dagon northern part of the Baja Peninsula, south of California, and those things are heaving and everything. And these things are 10 to 25 miles wide, and some of them are over 100 miles wide. Yellowstone's not that
That's
big.
crazy.
The only difference
100
is
miles wide.
they played.
Woo.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
See, the thing about a Dagon volcano is when you have a volcano, you have growth afterwards because it brought nutrients with it. It ages out and things start growing in it again. A lot of these calderas have forests around them now. It may be the only place in the whole desert that has a forest around it. It's an old caldera.
Interesting.
Because there's water being leached to the surface enough to keep everything growing around the caldera.
Well, see, that's
But they have them on the East Coast, they have them on the West Coast, and we have them in the central part of the United States.
That's.
So are you guys suggesting?
Go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
But
I was just gonna say, so are you guys suggesting like a $40 trillion spending bill to do a study on how to plug up volcanoes?
Well, dude, I mean, and you wonder why our dollar is worth nothing. Let's spend some more money. Let's have Build Back Better and all this other crap that they're putting out there, and continue to dilute the worth of the American dollar. It's just ridiculous. Ridiculous.
There was one that came out the other day. They spent $25 million to learn the mating habits of a frickin' snail.
Now,
what the hell?
Now, from my perspective, can't you go out and buy 2 snails, get a male and a female? I don't know, show them like a dirty movie or something, and just let them go at it. Can't you watch that way?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure why you have to spend that kind of money on the mating habits of a snail, but what?
That's because these so-called scientists.
If you guys want to pay me $25 million to watch 2 snails fuck all day, then I'll gladly take that job.
Dude, I'll do it for 50 grand.
That's the whole point, though. We have scientists that have nothing better to do than watch some freaking snails, or go down and spend $1.5 million traipsing around in the daggone jungle, not paying attention to what's on the ground, but looking for a new animal.
Yep. Hey, let me circle back. I want to get. I've got about 10 minutes before my son's going to come out of baseball, and at that point I'll probably have to go. But let me circle back to this real quick. Fuck, did I just say circle back? That was like Jen Psaki's comment. God damn it!
Yeah, you did.
Well, you know what?
All right, that's peppermint patty for you.
Well, listen, I got to tell you now, I'm a Gen Xer, so I can get away with this. I say rude things. It is what it is. But now Jen Psaki, even though I hate her existence, and literally her voice makes me sick every time I hear it, I definitely would hate bang her. So I know I probably shouldn't say that. You know, it's probably not politically correct. But back in the day, if you had a girl that you
You
hated,
probably play hacky sack with her.
She's a redhead.
oh,
man.
they're crazy redheads. I love the crazy redheads. But that's not what I wanted to circle back to.
Long as he doesn't talk, that's okay.
Exactly. All right, guys, let me ask you this question. Now, again, we're, you know, in the good old United States of America here, we are so worried about, you know, our pronouns and so worried about being sensitive. And for the last 10 years, 15 years, society has done everything they can to take away masculinity from men, you know, toxic masculinity. If you do anything, you're a toxic man. So you have to be more in touch with your pronouns. You have to be willing to show how sensitive you are all the time. In other countries, they don't do that. So you're seeing now Russia is attacking Ukraine. We've got this inept president who shit his pants on a daily basis, literally, and doesn't know what decade he's in. So America's weak. So what is going to stop Russia? What is going to stop China from attacking Ukraine, from attacking Taiwan, and maybe even taking it further? Will they bring their battle to us directly? Do they think that maybe this is the time where they can attack the United States of America and put an end to our country? Do you think that's possible? Because honestly, I've thought about it, and it worries me. Whoever wants to go.
I think they.
You want to tag?
I think they would.
Who
They
wants to
would.
tag
They would if
first?
they could. I don't think they have the ability to mobilize something over here to actually attack us. And as far as what's going to stop them, money and loss of life is going to stop Russia and Ukraine and China. I don't know if they truly have the ability to mobilize the size of their military and do what they want to do yet. And then experience as well, because China hadn't fought anyone really, and none of their military has any experience in combat anyway. So that would be a bad thing for them.
All right, now, hold on, Racoon, before we go to you on this, I see that Frankie D asked me a question, and this is obviously more important. So he asked me, would it be Jen Psaki, Kaylee, or Kaylee McInerney? From my perspective, it would be both at the same time. So there's my answer. All right, go ahead. Moving on. It would be both. All right, go ahead.
Okay, real quickly.
Yes.
Hard times have weak men
Yes.
who develop to strong men to bring good times, and good times develop weak men to become strong men to bring back. Everything works in a cycle that we have right now. As far as China coming over here, look at all the gun owners. We have more than 3/4 of the weapons on the face of the earth are in the hands of a bunch of pissed off Americans.
Yep, true.
That's why Japan didn't come over
I got
here.
4 in my house, baby, and I'm ready.
Well,
Yeah.
I ain't saying how many I got, but I'll tell you what, there'll be a pile of brass and shotgun shells.
Yeah,
But anyway,
I had to sneak them by my wife. So my wife knows about 3 of them. She doesn't know about the 4th one. So if she hears this show, I'm in trouble. I'll have to explain my AR-15 to
I
her.
just hope my wife don't. I hope when I die, my wife don't tell her or don't sell my guns for what I told her I paid for them.
Oh yeah, I definitely have to under-exaggerate the prices. And let me tell you this story really quickly.
Hey, she'd be throwing away too much money if she did that, right?
Let me tell you this story really quickly. I very quietly went to the local gun store and I bought an AR-15 with all the ammunition. It was a pre-ban model because we have all these fucking regulations in Massachusetts. So I got a beautiful gun, cost me a fortune. And of course, I didn't tell my wife because I pay the bills and whatever. You know, we just let that disappear into the finances. So all of a sudden, I'm out someplace like 2 weeks later, and I get a phone call from my wife. She never opens the bills ever because I pay the bills, and she just doesn't want to deal with it because it's a hassle for her. So I'm like, yeah, I'll pay them. I don't care. So all of a sudden, I get a call. Hey, John. I'm like, yeah. She's like, what's this huge charge at this place called the gun store? At that point, I'm like, fuck. I mean, how do you lie about that? You know, I said, like, well, you know, honey, I went in there and I didn't buy a gun. It was literally the gun store. So I was able to talk my way out of it. I did tell her, she probably didn't believe me. I told her I went in and bought some ammunition and they accidentally charged me for another guy's purchase. And she, I think, just agreed with it. I'm sure she didn't believe me. But yeah, I've got my AR-15 tucked away in my house in case I need it. So, and I did that in the last year because I felt like it was necessary because, quite frankly, I'm afraid about what is going on in this country, and I don't know really what's coming down the pike. So go ahead, guys.
You must not notice the background text purchased with it.
The last thing I wanted to say was I don't have expensive weapons because there'll be plenty of them laying around later. Why spend $1,500 on a rifle when you can do the same thing with a $500 rifle just as good? And when you need to change out, there'll be plenty of them laying around if you're in that kind of a firefight.
I knew what I was going to say. If Russia or China or any country, were to dare to come over here, besides us having our Second Amendment, I think it was said on somebody else's podcast show that back during the American Revolution, that we invented guerrilla warfare.
That was my show. Yeah, we talked about that.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And I would have to say, Michael, you were spot on that. Because with guerrilla warfare, American style, it would be on Donkey Kong style.
Guerrilla warfare started with squirrel hunters.
I'm going to give you guys a very special thing right now. I had to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to mute really quickly. But I'm outside my vehicle right now peeing. So if I get arrested, I apologize to all of you. So Eric may have to close the show because I'm actually in the middle of a city taking a leak outside of my car right now.
We also got another caller on the panel, Karks 1971.
Oh, yeah,
how are you? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Mute your mic, John.
Okay, I'll mute. Yep. Sorry, could you hear that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I feel much better.
Right,
go ahead.
Karks, you're going to need to speak up a little bit for us, okay?
Yeah.
Or get close to your mic. Yes.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Just one question to you guys. I mean, I'm not trying to be against America, don't get me wrong. Okay, but why is it that you guys have got guns in that area? Here in Australia, we have a different sort of mentality, right? We bought guns. The buyback scheme was a few years back, where we had to sell all our guns. That was about 20.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys. I'm having a really hard time hearing him. Can you guys hear him?
So
I'm listening to what he's saying. Could y'all hear him?
Yeah, he's asking a question, but he's talking about he's in Australia and he brought up about the gun buyback. Now I don't know if he's asking why we haven't done that or
Yeah, I'm asking that question. Yes.
Oh, because it wouldn't happen. No one would buy back. No one would sell their guns.
Yeah. No, honestly, and I have a hard time hearing you. I'm sorry. I'm on my headphones right now in my car. But no, in America, we very much believe in the Second Amendment. We believe in owning guns. And the reason we do it, it's not for hunting. It's not for recreation. We believe that we may be in a situation where we have to defend ourselves against a tyrannical government. And that's one thing. I think that one of the things that makes it very difficult for any country to think about taking over the United States of America is you have 336 million people in this country, and a very high percentage of those people have guns. And, again, I'm not a violent guy. I've never hurt anybody. I've never fought in a war, but I do believe that I need to have something in my house to protect my family from either A, an intruder, or B, a tyrannical government that may have intentions of taking over our country, because we experienced it, when this country was formed. And luckily our founding fathers wrote that into our Constitution, where we have the right to bear arms to protect us from a tyrannical government. And I think thankfully we have that, because if you look at countries where they've taken away people's right to bear arms, then they frame it as being something that's good for the people because there'll be no more gun violence. But really what it does is it takes away the ability of the people to protect themselves, and really ends up with people losing their rights, in my opinion. So I don't know if you guys feel differently, but that's just how I feel about it.
Look at Ukraine. They gave them right back.
Right.
to go help, to go fight.
No, we give them to them. We sent the weapons over to them.
Well, another important amendment besides the Second Amendment and the First Amendment is that Fourth Amendment, where like unreasonable search and seizure. You don't want that being taken away either.
Nope, very true. Very true.
We don't want any of them.
Guys, why don't all you guys do a brief wrap up? My son's going to be out in a minute. I'm going to have to get off. So why don't we start with Racoon? Give us a brief wrap up. We'll go to Michael and then over to Eric and then the new caller, Karks, I think it is, or however you say it. So go ahead, Racoon. Give us your wrap up. If you have one.
Racoon, can you hear us?
Racoon, can we lose you?
Racoon, you're muted.
All right. Oh, that's why. Let me. It looks like he's muted. Let me see if I can unmute him. Oh, I don't know how to do it because I'm old. Let's see. I almost disconnected him accidentally. All right, why don't we go, Michael? Why don't you do yours instead, and then we'll go to Racoon. So Racoon, hold on a second, and then we'll go to you. Go ahead, Michael.
Oh no, thank you. I enjoyed the conversation on my long drive home from the office.
Oh, nice. I got to ask you. I see your picture. Now, hold on. I see Michael's picture. Now, I see your hands. They look like they're about a foot apart. Are you trying to say something with that gesture? Because if so, I want to give you some applause. That's pretty well done if that's the case. Because my hands, with me, you'd probably only be able to see the E on my shirt or the real talk. So very impressive.
It's a coincidence. That's funny.
You'll do your show tomorrow night, Michael, after
Eric, when you guys are ready. So go ahead. I see my son coming out, so we got to wrap it up relatively quickly. And of course, I lost my earpiece again, so I can't hear you.
Okay, I'll say one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin both said it eloquently. If you give up one right for security, you deserve neither.
And can I say one more thing too? Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody.
Go ahead, Karks.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody out there.
All right, everybody, listen, I'm going to have to end it. My son's coming out, and I lost my earpiece. So I apologize if I'm cutting somebody off. I can't hear anybody. So here I go. I'm going to have to get some tape and tape these damn things in my ears. So I want to thank all of you for coming into my show tonight. I greatly appreciate it. I see Eric is talking. Eric, why don't you finish talking and then just put a message down the bottom when you're done, and I'll wrap the show up. So go ahead, Eric, finish up. And then I'll end the show when you're done. Just tell me when you're done in the chat.
All right.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you for this. Thank you for the St. Patrick's Day wish, Karks. And we would also like to wish happy birthdays this week to Renee, whose birthday is today, and Chris, who will be going live after us. His birthday is on Thursday. And then coming up on Podbean Live, you've got the Ralph Williams podcast in the morning, as well as the Old Man's Podcast Show with Dina, Joe, and Eric at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And on Podbean Daytime, you've got Jeff Moore's Make More Money podcast. You've got Milk Dog, but hopefully he'll be back soon, as he appeared to take a brief hiatus today. The Frankie D Show will be on tomorrow afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, and Solid Blue Sister at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. The John Gale program, he'll be on at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Give or take, depending on like a dentist appointment. Then Slacker 82 Alpha will be live tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The Beans and Weenie Show at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And then our good friend Shannon is going to be taking a little bit of time off from doing her podcast to deal with some personal matters. So after Beans and Weenies, if you're up for it, Michael, that time slot is open for you. Then of course, you've also got other additional podcast shows worth checking out on Podbean Live, including you've got the Low Standards and Pours on Thursday evenings. You've also got the Potluck Brothers comedy podcast and Chuck and Billy's Not Your Cup of Tea. And then Friday evening, you're going to have The Swap Doesn't Lie with Felix. And Sunday evening, you'll have Jester with the It's Doomsday podcast. And of course, be on the lookout for the Slightly Serious Show to return with new episodes sometime in the next few weeks, and also be on the lookout for Robert's Friends for Change podcast and more names like Pink Squirrel and Laura and the dude Sean in the mix, along with Mike Tampa Bay and Sarge with the Gray Area and so many more great podcast friends, including Marcos, Ball Ramu, Lingalonga, Kirkley Hennessy, and Jeremy of Seek and Find, and so many others. And John, I'm going to go ahead and toss it back over to you and look forward to your next shows.
Okay, I'm actually back. I found my earpiece again, so I can hear everybody. Hey, listen, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in.
Maybe we need to do a Gifts and Go fundraiser campaign for you, some new headphones, because we would not dare use the censorship-friendly GoFundMe.
I hear you. No, for me, I just need to keep these damn things in my head. They are new, and they keep falling out. It's kind of annoying, but whatever. I'll figure it out. I may literally get some tape and tape them in when I do a show. But I want to thank all of you for coming in. I greatly appreciate it. You know, you're all good friends. I do feel that we're going through some crazy times in the country right now, but I do believe that out of the difficult times that we're dealing with right now, we are going to have better times coming. But it's important for each and every one of you to stand up, voice your opinion, because you all make a difference. And if we sit back and we all comply, then this is going to continue to happen. But I think we all need to rise up and continue. It is. We need to rise up. We need to rise up and fight for our country and let these leaders who are leading us astray in the right direction. So thank you to everybody that came in. I'm going to get off now. I've got my son Brandon in the car. Brandon, you want to say hi real quick?
Hello.
That's Brandon. So he had baseball practice tonight. All right, we'll be on again soon. Thank you, everybody. Take care. Now, Chris, I'll tune into your show. Everyone get over to Chris's show and listen to him play some great music. All right, take care, everybody. Love you all.
Later.
Bye.